Pickleball Carcel. Let's talk about the poem The Shipfitter's Wife by Dorianne Laux. She's a 21st century American poet. I'm going to read the poem and then let's go over it in more detail. The Shipfitter's Wife. I loved him most when he came home from work. His fingers still curled from fitting pipe, his denim shirt ringed with sweat, smelling of salt, the drying weeds of the ocean. I'd go to where he sat on the edge of the bed, his forehead anointed with grease, his cracked hands jammed between his thighs, and unlace the steel-toed boots, stroke his ankles and calves, the pads and bones of his feet. Then I'd take the whole day inside me. The ship's gray sides, the miles of copper pipe, the voice of the foreman clanging off the hull's silver ribs, spark of lead kissing metal, the clamp, the winch, the white fire of the torch, the whistle, and the long drive home. Okay, I really enjoy this poem. I think it's so passionate and appreciative of the husband. It's quite a love poem, really. So let's go back to the beginning. The Shipfitter's Wife. The title tells us that this is in the voice of the wife of a person who works on ships. He builds boats with metal and pipes. There's welding going on. It's a very difficult job, physically demanding job. And she is his wife. And when she says, I loved him most, it's the wife saying, I loved my husband most when he came home from work. And this is a little surprising, especially as she goes into the details. The denim shirt ringed with sweat. We see that she loves him most at this moment when he is dirty, when he is sweaty. He's put in a long day, but she loves him most right at that moment. And that tells us something about her, how appreciative she is of his work. She says his fingers were still curled from fitting pipe. So this is a reference to, again, how physically demanding the work is, how it takes a toll on the body. And this whole poem is about rejuvenating him and bringing him, kind of welcoming him home in this very sensual way. So she says, I loved him most when he came home from work, the fingers still curled, the denim shirt ringed with sweat, smelling of salt, the drying weeds of the ocean. So he's been out there, near the ocean with the ships. The salt of his sweat and the salt of the ocean are mingling now. The whole thing she enjoys. I'd go to where he sat on the edge of the bed. So we see him there, his forehead anointed with grease. And the word anointed is very special here. It's a holy word. It's a sacred word taken from ceremonies of religious events. We have people getting, maybe in the Christian tradition, Ash Wednesday, ashes put on their forehead. It's that kind of a thing, the word anointed. In other traditions, you have oil that anoints the head or the feet. We think of baptism, maybe, again, in the Christian tradition, where you have water that anoints the person being baptized. So anointed is an interesting word choice, and it elevates this whole poem to, I guess, to emphasize the sacred bond between husband and wife, to emphasize how she appreciates him that much, that his work has anointed him, his work has made him special, his work has marked him in some way as having done something holy, right? So the work is elevated. The relationship is elevated with this word anointed. His cracked hands jammed between his thighs. I really love the repetition of cracked hands jammed. That's called assonance, and it's a nice poetic device. But the cracked hands point to how hard he works, and again, how she appreciates his sacrifice, really, in doing this laborious job. And then she says that she unlaces his steel-toed boots. And maybe you've seen steel-toed boots. They are heavy. They protect your feet from heavy objects falling on them. They're used in construction. and other jobs that have, like unloading trucks. So steel-toed boots are another detail of how, telling us how hard his job is in terms of physical labor. But she unlaces them. So this is the first time that she touches him, unlacing the boots, and then she says, stroke his ankles and calves, the pads and bones of his feet. So she's maybe massaging his ankles and calves and his feet. Those feet have worked very hard this day, and she is doing something very honoring, right? She's honoring him. She's in a position, at his feet of it reminds me of the woman who washes the feet of Jesus. And there are other foot washing type stories with gurus. In the Hindu religion, you kneel at the feet of your guru. So this is universal, that, to be at the feet of someone is to really honor them and show a great respect for them. So she is in this position with her husband. She, strokes his ankles and calves, the pads and bones of his feet. Then I'd open his clothes and take the whole day inside me. So this is a very tasteful reference to a sexual act now. And this is how she sees it, as something that helps him transition from work to home, as a sacred but also physically passionate moment together. She's going to purify him almost, take the whole day inside her. And this way, he'll be cleansed, right? She's doing something that will sort of erase the day and bring them together. I'd open his clothes, take the whole day inside me, and then there's a dash, and there's a list of the things that his day included. The ship's gray sides, the miles of copper pipe, the voice of the foreman clanging off the hull's silver ribs. Now notice with a word like ribs, we're moving into some words that have double meanings. So the ribs of the ship that he worked on, but also you have human ribs, and we know that they're in this passionate moment. And then, following that, spark of lead kissing metal. Spark, it's a very much romantic word. It's a word we use to talk about attraction, that there's a spark between people. Kissing metal, of course, literally we have the welding, right, of the spark kissing the metal. But we know that they're in a passionate moment, so there's also kissing between man and wife. The clamp, the winch, the white fire of the torch. These are elements at work that make sure that you're gripping and holding and you have leverage. And that again applies to this physical moment they're having. And what about white fire? Fire is another romance word, right? The fire of your passion, the fire of your attraction. And following that, we have the whistle. So at his workplace, the whistle would announce the lunch hour, or would announce that it's time to go home, the shift is over. A high-pitched, long-lasting sound. And does that correspond to something at home too? Yes, it does. Probably someone is going to emit this high-pitched, long sound over the course of this lovemaking encounter. And then you have the long drive home. So him coming home, commuting home, is referred to here. And that is a nice line because it brings work to home, right, through his driving home. But also, driving home, it's the finishing, it's the culmination. And in the lovemaking, let's think about the word drive. The drive home is a figurative phrase. And the word drive in, let's say, sports, let's say football, for example, you drive down the field, you're moving the ball to the end zone. Or in golf, you have a drive, a forceful motion that will move the ball again. So a drive home with the couple right now in their passionate moment is referring to the end of their, lovemaking. And it's so tasteful and it's so beautiful. And of course, with words like anointed, we have the entire the entire act is lifted to this kind of sacred exchange. The man and woman are coming together after his day in this beautiful way. So, yeah, I really enjoy this poem, The Shipfitter's Wife by Dorianne Laux. And I hope you did as well, and that you'll join me for another poem some other day.